Dear colleagues, we are welcoming you once more at the second session of the 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee. Thank you for participation at the opening ceremony yesterday. We hope that you got some impression of the cultural heritage of Azerbaijan and our view for the future. We are very pleased and honored to have all of you here, to have the honor to host this important international event, and we hope for very active, very resultful cooperation between all the committee members and representatives of other state parties and NGOs and international organizations to proceed for achievement of the results we are expecting from this session. We would like to note that we have very tough agenda. That's why we have to follow strict timetable. You all are aware about that. So please follow the time limits for your interventions, speeches, and according to the rules of procedure, we will try to give possibility to all interested parties to make interventions and notes. So, not to take your time too long, I would like to proceed to the agenda and start with the item 2 of the documents, WHAC 19-43.com-2, request for observer status. Ladies and gentlemen, before considering the admission of observers, I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Rössler for some general announcements. Please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and good morning to all of you. Please allow me to recall that the committee, at its 35th session, decided that World Heritage Committee meetings should be live-streamed over the web. Therefore, the debates of our session will be live-streamed through the address which appears on the screens now. Does it appear? Yes, it does. Which is also available on the website of the 43rd session. Secondly, please allow me to indicate that UNESCO gratefully acknowledges the host country for providing interpretation in Azeri throughout the session. Please note also that thanks to the generosity of the Kingdom of Spain, Spanish interpretation will be available for the duration of the entire meeting. Furthermore, thanks to the authorities of China, interpretation in Chinese will be available from the 5th to the 7th of July. In this regard, I would like to invite the Azeri, Spanish, and Chinese language speakers to choose in which working language, English or French, they would like to see their interventions being reflected in the summary records of the session. So your choice should be indicated orally at the time of your first intervention. It should also be transmitted in writing to the Secretariat before the end of our working session this morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Rössler. So we now turn our attention to the admission of the observers. The list is presented in document 2 in accordance with the Article 8 of the Rules of Procedure. For your information, this is bilingual document in English and in French. I would like to ask the rapporteur if she has received any amendments to the draft decision proposed.
Thank you, Chair. We've received no amendments for this one.
No amendments? Thank you. Dear colleagues, I have now to ask if you agree to the presence of these observers throughout the session. Committee members, no objections, I hope? I see no objections. The participation of observers is agreed. Thank you. Now we move to the item 3 of our agenda. Adoption of the agenda and the timetable. Documents WHC-19-43.com-3A. Provisional agenda of the 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee. I would like to invite Mrs. Rossler to present the agenda and the timetable for the session as contained in documents 3A and 3B. These documents should be read in conjunction with the document information.3a.rev5, which contains the provisional list of the documents of our session. All members of the committee got it. The other participants can easily find it through the site of the event. Please, Mrs. Rossler, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Concerning the agenda of our session, please allow me to indicate that 2 additions have been made in comparison with the original agenda approved by the World Heritage Committee at its last session. 1 item on progress report on the reflection on processes for mixed nominations, and 1 on the revisions of the operational guidelines. Now, regarding document 3B, which contains the timetable, please note that as the Bureau was informed yesterday, the Baku Declaration will be presented before the end of our morning session. The text of this declaration has been distributed to you both in English and in French. Please also note that the message from the World Heritage Young Professionals Forum 2019 will be presented to you immediately before lunchtime. It is suggested to the committee to take note of this message, and a copy of this message has also been made available to all of you in English and French this morning. Furthermore, Mr. Chair, please allow me to inform you that a revised list of documents, Rev 5, was made available on 29th June, so please refer to this document for any information on the documents of this session. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me also to recall that due to the number of items on our agenda and the time constraints, Rule 22.2 of the Rules of Procedures, which grants the chairperson with the possibility to limit the time allowed to each speaker, will be applied if circumstances make this desirable. Time for interventions, therefore, will be limited to 3 minutes for committee members and 2 minutes for observers. In this regard, please note that a musical timer system to gauge interventions is in place, which interrupts any speaker exceeding the recommended time limit. And Mr. Chair, it's in front of you.
Yes,
you see it? Concerning the interventions by observers from civil society and NGOs, we strongly advise, if they wish to take the floor on the same topic, to hold consultations among them in order to prepare and deliver one single intervention. In order to save time as much as possible, we also appeal to you not to repeat what the other delegations have said or for making congratulatory statements. Official statements and declarations should be also transmitted to the Secretariat in writing as soon as they have been delivered in order to integrate them into the summary records of this session. Furthermore, please note that timing of sessions will be strictly respected, which means every morning at 10 a.m. and every afternoon at 3 p.m. sharp. Please also note that in the timetable you have in front of you, and which was just looked at, the meeting of the Bureau will be held every morning from 9:30 to 10 a.m. as of tomorrow, Tuesday, 2nd of July. Dear participants, allow me also to remind you that bilateral consultations outside the main conference room should be outside of the main conference room and not during the debates here in the room. This was specifically requested by several committee members. Furthermore, I would like to underline a specific point regarding nominations. As you can see, we will have a very tight schedule regarding nominations. While we understand perfectly and share the joy of countries that will have inscriptions of their sites on the World Heritage List, we discussed yesterday in the Bureau meeting that we would recommend that congratulations and celebrations be held outside of the room to allow for a smooth continuation of our schedule, and also in fairness to the nominations being discussed just afterwards. I would also like to ask you to switch off your mobile phones or to put them in silent mode so as not to disturb the proceedings. Please note that no specific coffee breaks were foreseen. However, tea and coffee will be available throughout the day in the delegates' lounge. Last but not least, as it was indicated in the Bureau meeting yesterday, I also would like to remind all committee members that all amendments to draft decisions have to be submitted well in advance before the discussion to our rapporteur, Mrs. Mahani Taylor, who is sitting here on the podium, in writing, using the blue form and preferably in an electronic version at the following email address. I hope it comes up. Oh yes, it's on the screen. The blue form template to be used will be sent to all committee members by email through the Secretariat. In this regard, we will consult each committee member delegation to get email addresses to which the electronic version of the blue form can be sent for easy use. The electronic submission will facilitate the integration of the text in the relevant draft decisions at hand for your consideration. The blue form is also available in the room in both English and French. It includes the email address I just mentioned. I would like to encourage you as much as possible to avoid to submit substantial amendments immediately before the discussion of an item to allow for transparent and informed discussions. Therefore, committee members should ensure that amendments are provided sufficiently in advance and at least 24 hours ahead of the examination of the concerned item, as provided in the rules of procedure, to allow for their timely dissemination both in paper copy and online on the website of the World Heritage Center, and to ensure their translation. This is very important to ensure the dialogue and transparency here. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Rösler, for this presentation. I would like to know whether there are any comments on these agenda items. I see none from the members of the committee. Now I invite you to adopt the draft decision 43.3a and 43.3b. But before doing that, so I would like to ask the rapporteur if she has received any amendments to the text or to the draft decision proposed.
I've received no amendments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, no comments, no questions. Therefore, I declare the draft decision 43.3a and 43.3b adopted. Ladies and gentlemen, let us examine now item 4 of our agenda. As you know, Mrs. Anna Zeichner was the rapporteur of the 42nd session of the World Heritage Committee, which was held last year in Manama, Bahrain, and we had honor to be there. Therefore, I have now the pleasure to invite Mrs. Zeichner to present her report, which will highlight the main issues discussed during our last session. Please, Mrs. Zeichner, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairperson, Mr. Assistant Director General for Culture, Madam Director of the World Heritage Center, dear members of the committee, delegates of observer state parties, members of the Secretariat, members of the advisory bodies, participants of the 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee, including those who are following our debates through streaming, I would like to wish a good morning to you all. I have the honor and pleasure to be here to present my report summarizing the proceedings of the 42nd session of the World Heritage Committee, which was generously hosted by the Kingdom of Bahrain in its beautiful capital city of Manama from the 24th of June to the 4th of July 2018, under the high patronage of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. Mr. Chairperson, the 42nd session of the World Heritage Committee was chaired by Sheikha Haya Rashid Al Khalifa, and her dedication, wisdom, fairness, and vigilance, making sure that we were always following our rules and procedures, contributed greatly to the success of our deliberations. Under Sheikha Haya Rashid Al Khalifa's able leadership, the committee has taken 225 decisions. We had long, intensive, sometimes challenging sessions, and I believe that we might have even broken the record of longest committee decision with the 60 paragraphs that were contained in Decision 42.7. And as I have said, it was a very long session, and I will try my best to summarize only the most salient points of our debates. The session was attended by 2,975 participants in total, including members of the committee, representatives of states parties to the convention, NGOs, and observers. The second edition of the World Heritage Site Managers Forum also took place, and this important capacity building event has gathered over 40 site managers from all over the world in Manama. The committee has examined 157 state of conservation reports, 39 of which were open for discussion, and the 54 sites inscribed on the list of World Heritage in danger. The committee decided to inscribe one property on the list of World Heritage in danger, Lake Turkana National Park in Kenya, and at the same session has decided to remove one property from the list of World Heritage in danger, the Belize Barrier Reef Reserve System. According to this, after the closure of our session, the number of properties inscribed on the list of World Heritage in danger still stands at 54. Mr. Chairperson, coming to the nominations under item 8, the committee at its 42nd session inscribed 19 new properties on the World Heritage list, 13 of which were cultural, 3 mixed, and 3 natural, and also approved the extension of one property already inscribed on the list. Among the newly inscribed properties, there are 3 cultural landscapes, and with this addition, we now have 105 properties officially recognized as such on the list. The breakdown by region of the 19 new properties that we inscribed at the last session is 2 from the Africa region, 2 from Latin America and the Caribbean, 3 properties from Arab states, 4 properties from Asia Pacific, and 8 properties from Europe and the North America region. All in all, after the closing of our last session, the World Heritage list is now composed of 1,092 properties, of which 845 are cultural, 209 are natural, and 38 are mixed. Mr. Chairperson, dear colleagues, when speaking of nominations, at our previous session, in 14 cases, the committee did not follow the advisory body's recommendation presented in draft decisions, and I have the duty to report that for the first time in the history of the World Heritage Convention, the committee has inscribed not 1, but 2 properties that were recommended for non-inscription, one of which was a newly proposed site, while the other one was a site that was referred back from a previous session of the committee. I also wish to inform you that all of the referrals presented at the last session were inscribed. The committee has also, upon request of the submitting state party, referred back a nomination which was recommended for inscription on the list of World Heritage and simultaneously on the list of World Heritage in danger. Mr. Chairperson, the committee has devoted considerable time to deliberate about sites relating to conflicts and memories under different agenda items. I wish to note here that following intensive discussion, the committee decided to adjourn consideration of a nomination relating to funerary and memorial sites of the First World War. Under agenda item 10, the committee also decided to adjourn the consideration of every such similar site until the 44th session of the committee, until a comprehensive reflection has taken place, and the committee has discussed and decided how these sites might relate to the purpose and scope of the World Heritage Convention and its operational guidelines. Amongst the technical innovations that were introduced at the last session, I would like to mention that for the first time, the amendments I received electronically as rapporteur were uploaded publicly on the committee website for ease of use, translated in the working languages, and this practice contributed to enhancing the transparency of our methods of work. Last year was also the first time that a significant modification was introduced to the way the committee conducts its business under Agenda Item 8, which, as you will certainly know, is the establishment of the World Heritage List and the list of World Heritage in danger. It was noted by the committee how the general decision under Item 7 on state of conservation reports in recent years has enabled us to have substantial discussion relating to trends in conservation. Upon proposal of a member of the committee, it was decided to establish a standing general Item 8 to create space on the agenda for more strategic discussions on matters related to nomination and inscription processes for the World Heritage List. Mr. Chairman, dear colleagues, the importance of strengthening the dialogue between states parties and advisory bodies was emphasized throughout the session under different items, and it was decided to inscribe a new separate item on the agenda for this session, focusing specifically on this matter. We have also inscribed a new point on priority Africa sustainable development and World Heritage. As an important development, I would also like to report to you that the committee has decided that a reflection meeting should be convened before March 2019 to examine different possibilities for reforming the nomination and evaluation process and to propose recommendations for consideration by the World Heritage Committee in view of increasing the balance and credibility of the World Heritage List. It has also decided that the ad hoc working group, whose mandate had been extended, should review the reflection meeting report and recommendations and to submit these together with the advice of the ad hoc working group to the 43rd session of the committee. The committee, under its decision 42-8, has also decided that, and here I will quote, considering that in compliance with the Convention and the operational guidelines, outstanding universal value is recognized at the time of inscription of a property on the World Heritage List, and that no recognition of outstanding universal value is foreseen prior to this stage, decides to include the review of the referral procedure and its application for examination in the framework of the next revision of the operational guidelines at its 43rd session in 2019. Finally, in the framework of the budget group, chaired by Mr. Rashad Baratli from Azerbaijan, the committee decided that a 2-year resource mobilization and communication strategy be planned and developed by the Secretariat with the support of the advisory bodies and states parties wishing to assist the Secretariat in fundraising activities. The Secretariat is expected to make a progress report at this session of the committee. At the end of my report, I cannot but repeat what I have said at the last year, on the last day of the committee. We really need to applaud the Secretariat for the immense and dedicated work they put towards ensuring the success of our committee session. The job of rapporteur would not be possible at all without the extraordinary team of the Secretariat under the leadership of Dr. Rössler. And I feel very, very grateful and very honored to have worked with them so closely last year. I wish to thank you all for having elected me as rapporteur of the 42nd session. I hope I have served you well and have lived up to the expectations. I also wish to express my deep appreciation to the Kingdom of Bahrain for having hosted the last session of the committee, and I think I can speak in the name of all participants when I say that we had a wonderful and unforgettable time in Manama. In closing, Mr. Chairperson, please also allow me to congratulate and wish all the best to my successor, Ms. Mahani Taylor from Australia, who is a rapporteur at this session, and I am certain that she will fulfill her important task splendidly. I wish all the members of the committee rich debates, smooth proceedings, and a successful session. I once again express my heartfelt thanks to Azerbaijan for hosting the committee, and I thank you all for having listened to my rather long report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Eisner. I can consider the applause like the approval of the report, and no need for discussion, I consider. Can we accept it like that? Then on behalf of all of us, I would like to express our gratitude to the great work of the Secretariat at Manama and Rapporteur works, to appreciate it highly, and once more to thank Bahrain for the perfect conditions provided for the holding of the previous session. Thank you very much. And if there are no questions, we can accept the report for notes, and I'm closing the item 4 of the agenda. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, as we agreed, we have to make some commitment to the questions which are going to be supervised during the certain period of time during our session. That's why I would like to invite you to shift to the agenda, the item 14 of agenda, to the constitution of the consultative body for the review of the budget document. This document is WHC-19-43.com-14. As you will remember, the committee established by decision 35-12B a standing consultative body for the review of the committee's biennial budget in conformity with the Article 20 of the Rules of Procedure. This consultative body is open to all states parties that wish to participate, including states non-members of the committee. I would like also to recall that the advisory bodies will have the possibility to attend the working groups of observers. Furthermore, based on a past year's practice and with a view to avoid heavy agendas, it is suggested to the committee to reduce the length of the working group to 3 days in view of improving the efficiency of the committee's works, instead of being held for the duration of the session. Therefore, and if this proposal is agreeable to the committee, I would propose that the budget working group meets from Tuesday 2nd, means tomorrow, July 2nd, to Tuesday 4th, July, from 2 to 3 p.m. Do you have any objections? I see none. So it is decided. Furthermore, as you know, as per Rule 20.2 of the Rules of Procedure, it is of the responsibility of the group to elect the chairperson. However, I understood that same consultations already took place in this regard. Therefore, I would like to know if a delegation would like to make a proposition. St. Kitts and Nevis, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The delegation of St. Kitts and Nevis wishes to propose Anna Zeichner in the role of the chairperson of the Budget Committee. Thank you.
Any other proposals? Spain.
Sí, para manifestar nuestro acuerdo con la propuesta que se acaba de hacer.
Thank you very much. So if there is no other proposals, I see no objections, and there is decided that Anna Sachel will be the chair of the budget committee, budget group, working group. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Once more, I would like to note and to remind you that the first meeting of the committee, of the budget group, will be held tomorrow from 2 to 3 p.m. in the room A7. So we are moving to the next agenda item, which is number 11. Establishment of the consultative body for the revision of the operational guidelines. Document WHC-19-43.com-11A. Dear colleagues, in conformity with the specific decision of the committee made in previous sessions, a revision of the operational guidelines has been inscribed on the agenda of our session. The proposed revision covers notably the upstream process, the mainstreaming of the policy document for the integration of a sustainable development perspective into the processes of the World Heritage Convention, into the optional procedures and the revision of the international assistance process. Therefore, it is proposed that a working group will be established as a consultative body to consider the proposed revision in conformity with Article 20.1 of the Rules of Procedure, and that is be open to all state parties, including states non-members of the committee. I would like also to recall that the advisory bodies will have the possibility to attend these working groups. It is foreseen that this working group will report back to the committee at its last plenary session on Tuesday, 9th of July. Dear colleagues, as you know, we just established the consultative body of the budget, and I would like to put forward also a proposal for the length of the working group of the operational guidelines. That is to establish a limited duration of for 3, maximum 4 days. If you are in agreement with such kind of proposal, the group could meet as from Friday, 5th July, in room A7 from 2 to 3 p.m. I don't see any objections, so it is decided. Dear colleagues, as you know, as per Rule 20.2 of the Rules of Procedure, it is on the responsibility of the group to elect the chairperson. However, I understand that some consultations have been made in advance, so I would like to hear the proposal of the agreed Norway, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving Norway the floor. I will be short. Norway would like to propose Mr. Khalifa Al Khalifa from Bahrain as chair for this working group. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Tunisia.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Tunisie, qui prend pour la première fois la parole, remercie le pays hôte de l'organisation de cette session de notre comité, et la Tunisie soutient la proposition norvégienne de élire le président Bahreïn comme président du comité de travail sur les orientations, la révision des orientations. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. If there are no other proposal and there is no objections, I would like to announce that Khalifa Al Khalifa is elected as the chair of the Operational Guidelines Working Group. Congratulations. The first meeting of the group will be therefore held as agreed on Friday, 5th at 2 p.m. in room A7. Dear colleagues, now we turn our attention to the opening of the item 12, the document WHC-19-43.com-12, which concerns the follow-up to recommendations of evaluation and audits of working methods. Relevant working documents is document 12. Once more, I'm repeating. As you will remember, the committee, at its 38th session in 2014, decided to establish an ad hoc working group to examine the issues related to working methods of the evaluation and decision-making process of nomination, which is very important. Since this date, the working group has met between sessions examining different matters of this framework. Therefore, since our last sessions in Bahrain, the ad hoc working group pursued its reflections on the reform of the nomination process, as well as the possible use of advisory services of other entities in addition to the current 3 advisory bodies. The ad hoc working group has met several times during the year under the chairmanship of Azerbaijan. In this regard, I am pleased to give the floor to the chair of the working group, Mr. Baratli, who will report on the work of the group.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. Good morning to everyone, and once more welcome to Azerbaijan. Through its decision 42-12A, the World Heritage Committee extended the mandate of the ad hoc working group composed of the members of the committee and up to 2 non-members per electoral group. And the main 2 items in the mandate were to examine different possibilities of reforming the nomination process and propose recommendations in view of increasing the balance and credibility of the World Heritage List. And the second, discuss the modalities for the possible use of advisory services of other entities with suitable experience and knowledge in line with UNESCO rules and regulations, and in addition to the current 3 advisory bodies. So ad hoc working group commenced its work on 19th of November, and subsequent meetings took place on 21st of January, 25th of February, 18th of March, 18th of April, and 23rd of May, and we were happy to organize one open-ended working meeting for all state parties on 29th of March 2019. So during the planning of our work, we tried to incorporate the results of a Tunisia expert meeting outcomes and also outcomes of online consultation survey on reform process organized by World Heritage Center. Furthermore, we had the privilege and opportunity to listen to the presentation of the head of Tunisia expert meeting during our early meetings in the ad hoc working group. Later on, ad hoc working group made a scoping exercise and defined certain stages within the nomination reform, nomination process overall, and these were upstream process, tentative listing, preliminary assessment, and I will later on explain on this, focus on this one more concretely, dialogue between state parties and other stakeholders, package of principles, capacity building, timing, decision making, code of conduct, evaluation process, and financial implications, of course. Also, ad hoc working group decided that it will be good to have a general guiding principles which will guide not only the work of current ad hoc, but also any further possible discussions on the reform process overall. So at this stage, mainly 3 principles defined were: reforms must enhance the integrity of the World Heritage Convention by supporting the World Heritage List to be more representative, balanced and credible. Principle 2, reform options will be assessed on their individual merit before being considered as part of a complete package of reforms. The individual assessment will include issue, outcome, reform, change required, and financial implications. So these principles kind of gives a structure for analysis on any possible reform proposal in this regard. And principle 3, reform options will be assessed as part of a complete package of reforms before being recommended to the committee to ensure the reforms are integrated and effective. Overall, group also discussed the financial implications of any possible reform proposals, and it was decided that before going to financial implications, it would be better to focus on the reform options itself, because if we start with financial implications, that could create certain obstacles on our way, because we all are aware about financial situation in the sphere of World Heritage. So starting with our first outcome, which is, I would say, the main outcome and very important, crucial one. This is a proposal on preliminary assessment. Just to give you the background, that this proposal came also, the idea also came from a Tunisia expert meeting, but was very kind of focused by our ad hoc working group and was further elaborated during our discussions. The ad hoc working group produced in this regard a preliminary assessment concept paper. We are expecting the committee, or proposing to the committee, to endorse it, so that further modalities will be discussed further on in the upcoming meetings, because due to the time constraints, we of course could not cover all details of this proposal. So very briefly about this proposal, the scope is very clear. It's a preliminary assessment phase. which contains a very light desk study of the nominations, so that to give the idea to the state parties whether certain nomination has a potential of OUV or not. And the idea here is not just to give the very strict yes or no cutting-edge response to the state parties, but to create more opportunities for dialogue. The question of whether it should be mandatory or voluntary, the ad hoc working group clearly recommends that this proposal, this phase should be of mandatory character, so that at a later stage to be included in the as a part of official nomination process. In terms of methodology, as I already mentioned, it's assumed that it will be a desk study implemented by the advisory bodies. Some proposals are also mentioned here in the form of which form this dossier, light dossier, will be presented to the preliminary assessment. We have ideas of using digital solutions and also having a national focal point from the side of state part as well. With regards to the submission format, we expect that this submission format will be very light and short, so that state parties do not invest heavily already at this stage to the possible nomination. It should be limited in length and volume, and as I said already, it should be quite light. As a format, we can use several other formats which we already use in the process of nomination, but of course this will be a totally new submission format. In terms of financial implications, of course, it's not clear at this stage what will be the burden of this proposal, whether it will be additional burden or it will help us to save to more economy. But what's clear is that even though in the first stage it may bring additional expenditure, in a long-term perspective, it will of course help both state parties, World Heritage Center and advisory bodies to have more economy and efficient use of resources, because through this proposal we are kind of trying to avoid possible deviations during the final committee session discussion. So that's very important to keep in mind. Relations to the upstream, very simple answer is that upstream is of a voluntary character, whereas our proposal on preliminary assessment is to be of a mandatory character and to be a part of official nomination process. And also in terms of upstream, there are basically no limits for how many sites can be proposed by one state party to upstream process, whereas as being part of official nomination process, for preliminary assessment, state party needs to present only one site per cycle. In terms of timeline, if it's endorsed to be a part of official nomination process, preliminary assessment would be a kind of a new first phase, so it will be introduced before the current evaluation process. Of course, there are modalities which should be defined further on. And the overall idea is that the outcome of this preliminary assessment should be ready at least 1 year prior to the so-called second stage, so current nomination. And the outcome of the preliminary assessment, if I may call so, would be live maximum around 3 to 5 years, as actualities change, realities change, so it cannot be indefinitely kept. Of course, we will need statutory deadlines, as this will be a part of official nomination process, that's clear. So also the ad hoc group thought that as it's a totally new concept, we may need to have a transitional pilot phase for introduction of this new preliminary assessment, that's clear. And before doing so, of course, we need to have more time on defining the modalities, as I said already. There are a lot of modalities, believe us, we discussed it in ad hoc working group and realized that there are lots and we need time to fix them. So this is basically our main proposal on preliminary assessment. As I said, we have a concept paper, and we propose the committee to endorse this paper, and further on to give the new kind of cycle of either expert meeting or ad hoc working group to fix the modalities of this proposal. Also, in terms of, as I said, we did a scoping exercise, and we had some other items. We did not have much time to focus very heavily on these items, but just to briefly mention, we discussed the tentative list, regional harmonization, thematic harmonization. We discussed upstream process, the relation to preliminary assessment, as I already described. We discussed nomination guidance, so how we can help state parties to prepare more solid nomination dossiers, improve nomination template to make them more concise, more light, limited, so that it doesn't take much time both for state parties and advisory bodies to evaluate. We discussed also the working methods of advisory bodies. We need more transparency, so methodology for evaluation of nominations, process for selecting panel members and advisors, and advisory body evaluation formats overall. Of course, we discussed the global strategy on credibility and balance, and we discussed the possible introduction of code of conduct. What was mentioned specifically here, that code of conduct should not be meant just for committee members, but all stakeholders, including overall state parties and advisory bodies and World Heritage Center, UNESCO Secretariat in this regard. And we discussed dialogue and timing, and in this regard I have to mention that we think that introduction of preliminary assessment somehow also tackles the issue of dialogue, because we always advocate for more dialogue between state parties and advisory bodies. And just to briefly mention about our second item on possible use of additional advisory services. We had a long, quite qualitative discussion on this point, but finally it was agreed that the ad hoc working group proposes to the committee to retain the current status quo on the work of methods in this regard, because if there is a need to address, to ask for new advice from a new, let's say, advisory body, there are no any legal impediment in this regard at the current work of method of the committee. So by retaining the current status quo, we still can go and ask for additional service if there is a need for such a request. And of course, in our document that you all have, we have a set of recommendations just describing what I have already said. There are 16, and we have prepared the draft decision, which is very initial and draft, as it's seen, obviously. And the item is opened. We still may have some discussion on the text of the draft decision. And I think I'll stop here. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much. I would like to note that the ad hoc group was working very seriously during all this period of time. I would like to express the gratitude of the Heritage Center and Committee for the dedicated work done during this period of time. We had the 23 countries representatives, 21 committee members, and 12 additional countries. So it was a team of 33 countries working on the documents which are recommended and delivered to you through written form, and now by Mr. Baratli, who led the working group. I would like to thank them for very serious work, but to avoid long discussions concerned with the items which are proposed, as usual, we would like to propose this following working system with this document. If you don't mind, of course, we will open this document, paragraph 12, open until 9th of July. It means that during these 7-8 days, you have to revise, seriously examine the documents proposed, because the decisions which are proposed there will be reflecting in our future activity in general. And from this point of view, I think that we have to be very dedicated and very serious with that. We considered that we have to thank all participants of this ad hoc group, and if you don't mind, we will leave it open until 9th. If any objections, maybe other proposals, we want to make it until 9th, because to give the possibility to the working group and the Secretariat to work with your proposals, which can come later, and we will finish them in time. So, if there is no objections, I take it the committee agrees with the proposal, and the item 12 remains open. Thank you very much for understanding. Before we will proceed to the paragraph 5, I would like to ask Mrs. Rossler to make some announcement concerning our procedural matters.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just to make a few announcements, we have 50 side events during the 43rd session. These will be all announced on the screens outside. So please, many people are here also for the side events on discussions on different topics related to World Heritage. So please make the best use of these events. Today, there are a number of events I would like to announce already now, which is at 1:10, it's Our Natural World at Risk by WWF. At 1:10 to 2 o'clock, Connecting Practice, which is by ICROM IUCN in the advisory bodies meeting room. And then we have from 2:10 to 3 o'clock, World Heritage Leadership Program, a capacity building program on people, nature and culture in the AB space room. So this is in terms of announcement at this stage already. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Rossler. Now, on behalf of all the committee members and all the state participants, I would like to greet Her Excellency Director General, Mrs. Audrey Azoulay, for joining to the committee, and we are very grateful for this responsibility given to our country to host it. I hope that your presence enlightened the value of this great event held in our country. Thank you and welcome once more. We will now move to the next item concerning the report of the World Heritage Center of its activities, which is contained document 5A, WHC-19-43.com-5A. The report of the World Heritage Center on its activities will be introduced by the director of the center. I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Rossler, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, our Director General. It's a great pleasure to have you with us when you hear what we have been doing within 1 year. First slide, please. The cultural sector was reorganized in late 2018. The Division for Heritage ceased to exist, and the World Heritage Center became again an entity in its own right. As a director, I'm supported by our new deputy director, who is here with us, and the center now includes a team dedicated specifically to nomination matters, in addition to the policy and statutory meetings and the 5 regional units supporting the implementation of the World Heritage Convention. The number of posts financed through regular and extra budgetary funding sources has decreased over the last years, while the number of properties on the World Heritage List, as you know, currently 1,092, has increased. And the tasks for the World Heritage Center, including by the demands of this World Heritage Committee, have constantly increased. We are facing a situation that is no longer sustainable, as explained already during the information session we had on 29th of May with you, Mr. Chair. In this regard, I would like to thank very much Germany, Hungary, Japan, Norway, the Republic of Korea, Sweden, Turkey and Qatar for their staff support in terms of secondments, junior professional officer, associate experts, non-reimbursable loans and other modalities. So thank you very much to all of those. Next slide, please. In terms of the 39C5, the activities of the World Heritage Center are fully in line with the medium-term strategy 2014-21 and the approved program and budget 2018 and 19. As you know, the World Heritage Convention has one expected result established: tangible heritage identified, protected, monitored and sustainably managed by member states, in particular through the effective implementation of the 1972 Convention. 5 clear performance indicators have been developed to track progress and achievements in line with this expected result. While the performance indicators focus on quantitative information, This presentation will provide concrete examples to illustrate how the World Heritage Center has worked with states parties, advisory bodies, and many other stakeholders to identify, protect, monitor, and sustainably manage the World Heritage. Concerning the governing bodies, we have heard the key outcomes of the last session of the World Heritage Committee from our rapporteur, Mrs. Zeichner. The decisions report and the video recordings of the sessions are fully available on the webpage of the 42Com as well as in the summary records. With decision 42Com-12A, the committee decided to extend the mandate of the ad hoc working group, and we just have heard the report by Mr. Barakli. The ad hoc working group has met several times since the 42nd session, and the Center provided background material and information prior to the working meeting and subsequently provided inputs as required. An orientation session led by the chairperson of the World Heritage Committee took place on 29th May 2019 in conjunction with the information session, where a budget briefing was also presented as requested by the World Heritage Committee. The second orientation session took place yesterday, which allowed the Center and the advisory bodies to support committee members and state parties in the preparation of this session, and I would like to recall that this was noted as a best practice by the governance group. Now, concerning performance indicator 2, capacity building. Capacity building activities were implemented in all regions, and I would like to highlight only a few here. We had the second World Heritage Site Managers Forum in Bahrain in June 2018 with the theme World Heritage Site Managers' Role, Responsibility and Capacity Building Needs. In Bahrain, the forum included 44 representatives of World Heritage properties located in 33 states parties. The meeting confirmed the utility and importance of bringing site managers from different regions together for training, reflections and discussions. And we are very much looking forward to hear here at this session the outcome of this year's meeting and forum. I can assure you they had very lively debates. I attended a few sessions with them. And we opened the meeting together with our chairperson. Now, for the beginning of the third cycle of periodic reporting, a series of workshops were organized to train national focal points and site managers from the Arab states region as a collaboration between the Category 2 Center, ArcWH, and the Secretariat. And I welcome very much the director of the center looking at us here. A preparatory workshop for the Africa region was also organized in Nelspruit in South Africa in collaboration with the African World Heritage Fund, AWHF, and the Department of Environmental Affairs of South Africa. The AWHF also organized the first African regional course on promoting people-centered approaches to conservation of nature and culture at Mosi Oa Tunya, Victoria Falls, Zambia, in collaboration with ICROM and IUCN. A national seminar of site managers was held in Buenos Aires in Argentina on strengthening risk management in World Heritage properties with the support of the Argentinian National Commission for Cooperation with UNESCO, the Argentinian Committee for World Heritage, and the Secretariat, as you can see on the slide. Now, on the performance indicator 3, which is conservation and awareness raising. As you are well aware, the Convention is about conservation, and during this session, the committee will examine 166 state of conservation reports that were prepared by the World Heritage Center with the advisory bodies, including 54 reports on sites on the list of World Heritage in danger. All state of conservation reports are integrated into our online World Heritage State of Conservation Information System. This information system offers 3,600 state of conservation reports on 566 properties and is receiving growing attention. And I know very much that you, the committee members, use it very often. At its 40th session in Istanbul and at UNESCO in 2016, the World Heritage Committee highlighted that stakeholders of the Convention were not always familiar with the content and procedures of reactive monitoring processes. It therefore decided to formally address the situation and requested an evaluation of the effectiveness of the reactive monitoring, including procedures and case studies, and that was decision 40-7. The evaluation was initiated in December 2017 and included wide consultation of all stakeholders of the Convention, as well as direct interviews of its main actors, from states parties, from site managers, committee members, advisory bodies, World Heritage Center, as well as civil society. The final evaluation is presented under Agenda Item 7 for examination by this committee. The performance indicators have been amended this year to reflect the United Nations' greater focus on the involvement of women, young people, and civil society in its statutory processes. The examples given in this section of the report reflect this priority in conservation and awareness-raising activities carried out by the Centre. In partnership with the European Union, the World Heritage Educational Programme organized the European Young Heritage Professionals Forum in May 2019 in Zadar in Croatia. The 5-day forum was designed to foster intercultural learning and exchange by bringing together 28 young professionals, one representative from each of the EU member states, to address for the first time both tangible and intangible cultural heritage, exploring potential synergies and challenges of protection and safeguarding in the European context. Next slide, please. In Mali, the program for the rehabilitation of cultural heritage and the safeguarding of ancient manuscripts continued to receive financial support from the European Union and the Spanish cooperation. This has allowed restoration and conservation work in Timbuktu and the old towns of Djenné and the tomb of Askia in Gao, and activities on heritage protection for local actors, Malian institutions, as well as civilian and military personnel of MINUSMA. Next slide, please. The fourth phase of the UNESCO Republic of Korea Funds in Trust project, safeguarding the Koguryo tombs in the Republic of Korea, was launched in May 2019 during a ceremony organized in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. This event also marked the 20th anniversary of the cooperation between UNESCO and DPRK on the preservation of the Koguryo cultural heritage, in particular the tombs. A technical report on the third phase of the project is available online. This long-time international cooperation, supported by the Republic of Korea's Cultural Heritage Administration. Please note, due to unexpected circumstances, the site event, which was indicated in document 5A, paragraph 56, will not be organized during this session. We are planning to organize this activity during the General Assembly of States Parties in November 2019 at UNESCO. The World Heritage Volunteers campaign, under the theme Empowering the Commitment to World Heritage, organized 47 action camps between March-November of 2018 at 44 World Heritage properties and sites on tentative lists, located in 25 countries, involving 41 local organizations. These action camps bring together organizations, institutions, volunteers, communities, and specialists working towards the conservation of World Heritage properties by participating in practical activities and awareness-raising campaigns to develop an appreciation of World Heritage values. An extra budgetary project was developed in cooperation with national and local authorities involved in the conservation and management of the pre-Columbian chiefdom settlements with stone spheres of the Iquiques in Costa Rica, financed by the German Foreign Office for International Cooperation. The project aims to strengthen the capacity of local communities, particularly young people, in conservation and management, as well as developing opportunities for education and communication. And I can assure you, this is quite an amazing site here you see on the screen. As a further awareness-raising activity, the Secretariat has ensured a regular publications output including quarterly issues of the World Heritage Review, as well as a special edition supported by the State Party of Azerbaijan for this committee session. And as you see here on the screen, we did a joint publication with other UN agencies, in this case UNITA and UNOSAT, on the ancient city of Aleppo, which was published in English, French and Arabic. And there is also a side event on this publication during this session. Now, the next slide, please, on Performance Indicator 4 on the SDGs and Sustainable Development. Further to the adoption of the World Heritage Policy for Sustainable Development in 2015, the Centre continues to mainstream sustainable development in all its activities, as appropriate, including in statutory processes, operational projects and capacity building activities. This is further reflected in detail in document 5C, which we will discuss later, and here I will only give a few examples. A major $9 million project led by a private-public consortium was launched in October 2018 to build climate adaptation strategy within 5 marine World Heritage sites. An exchange of best practices between Glacier Bay National Park and West Norwegian fjords also led the Norwegian Parliament to adopt a resolution to halt emissions from cruise ships and ferries and make the World Heritage Site the world's first zero-emission zone at sea. Congratulations. As an example of collaboration with the organization of other bodies, I would like to use the example of the organization of the World Heritage Cities, which continues. For example, in February 2019, I attended a conference with more than 50 representatives from UNESCO World Heritage Cities, organized by the City of Vienna and OWHC. The event was a forum for exchange and discussion on the challenges facing dynamic cities between development pressures and the preservation of their World Heritage sites. Representatives from the Center also attended the OWHC Congress in June 2019 in Krakow in Poland, with the theme Heritage and Tourism, Local Communities and Visitors Sharing Responsibilities. Furthermore, the implementation of a project financed by the German Federal Office to develop disaster risk management plans for 3 properties in Chile began in 2018 with meetings and workshops held between national authorities and local management actors in Humberstone and Santa Laura saltpeter works, historic quarter of the seaport city of Valparaiso, and Rapa Nui National Park, which you see here on the screen. The UNESCO Africa-China Forum on World Heritage Capacity Building and Cooperation, mentioned by the Director General yesterday in her speech, was held at UNESCO headquarters from 3 to 4 June 2019, and it concluded with the adoption of recommendations and an action plan for joint projects supporting long-term capacity building for the safeguarding of African World Heritage properties. The forum was attended by 173 participants, including ministers, academics, World Heritage experts, advisory bodies, the African Development Bank and African Union Commission. The recommendations pledge greater cooperation between Africa and China in the field of heritage conservation and exchange programs in areas concerning sustainable development, traditional management systems, use, innovation, among others. An MOU was also signed between the African World Heritage Fund and the World Heritage Institute of Training and Research for Asia and the Pacific region, WITRAP, for the strengthening of capacity in heritage safeguarding activities. And we will further look into the specific topics of sustainable development in the African region under item 5D. Now, concerning performance indicators on nominations. With 19 properties that were inscribed by the committee at its 42nd session, the list reached 192 properties, and there are 54 on the danger list. In follow-up to decision 42-12A, an expert meeting was held in Tunis in January 2019, further to the invitation of the Tunisian government and with financial support from the Australian government. The meeting brought together 24 experts from all regions of the world, including an indigenous peoples expert and a young heritage professional, as well as our advisory bodies, Category 2 centers and the Secretariat, to review the nomination process, tentative lists and upstream process, bearing in mind the global strategy and to consider other possible measures. The outcomes of this meeting were then discussed by the ad hoc working group, which you just heard from Mr. Barakli, and you can see in document Inf 8 and 12A the full report. The Centre continues, of course, to support states parties in the process of updating tentative lists and providing advice and information on good practices concerning the elaboration of nomination files. And let me give you just some concrete examples. The African World Heritage Fund organized initiatives aimed at improving the representation of Africa on the World Heritage List, and they did, for example, a 3-week-long Francophone World Heritage nomination training course in Kigali in Rwanda in September 2018. And this course was implemented by the École du Patrimoine Africain with IUCN and the World Heritage Center, and gathered participants from 10 French and Portuguese-speaking countries, working on 9 World Heritage nomination dossiers. A sub-regional conference, World Heritage Global Strategy in the context of South Asia, was held in February 2019 in Kolkata in India, provided an opportunity for national focal points and experts from Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, the Maldives, Nepal and Sri Lanka to identify and discuss gaps in heritage identification and nomination. An expert meeting on the safeguarding of the oasis systems in the Maghreb was organized in Youdar, Morocco in October-November by the UNESCO office in Rabat and the Agence de l'Oriental in collaboration with the Ministry of Culture and Communication and with the financial support of the Netherlands. This meeting, during which the Centre underlined the importance and complexity of these natural and cultural landscapes, aimed at presenting oasis systems as developing human settlements. A detailed and participative methodology on updating tentative lists was developed in close cooperation with the advisory bodies and is being piloted successfully with the states parties of Peru and Honduras through the International Assistance Mechanism. Both have held international and national workshops with ICOMOS, IUCN experts, and several other states parties in the region, including Colombia, Chile, and the state of Bolivia, have also demonstrated their interest in applying the same methodology. Now, on gender equality. Gender is one of the global priorities of UNESCO. The gender equality dimension is consistently integrated in the implementation of the activities carried out by the Centre following the adoption of the World Heritage and Sustainable Development Policy. Effective mainstreaming of gender equality is particularly demonstrated, for example, in the World Heritage Education Programme, both for the content of the programme and for the participants. For example, the participation of girls has exceeded now 50% of the World Heritage Youth Forum. Let me also now talk about synergies with other conventions. I think these synergies have been increased and further enhanced by the Centre since the last World Heritage Committee meeting. The Secretariat has ensured cross-disciplinary collaboration with the other culture conventions in our cultural sector, for example, by including a specialist of the 2003 Convention for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage in a training workshop on periodic reporting for national focal points for the Arab States region in February 2019. I think the practice of inviting the participation of other UNESCO culture and biodiversity-related conventions and programs to meetings related to the third cycle of periodic reporting should be continued. On the occasion of the biodiversity-related conventions meeting last September, members of these 8 biodiversity conventions met with the UNESCO Culture Conventions Liaison Group, so the BLG met with the CCLG, and this is a unique photo. You see me in the middle. I'm sandwiched because I'm representing you, the World Heritage Convention, which is at the same time a biodiversity-related convention and a cultural diversity convention. So you see on the right-hand side of the photo the biodiversity conventions, and on the left-hand side the culture conventions. The Assistant Director General for Culture and myself attended the 2018 High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development held at UN headquarters in New York in July 2018, and the secretaries of all the biodiversity-related conventions organized a successful joint event called The Living Planet, the Foundation of Sustainable Development, and there we promoted the cooperation among all the conventions. Next slide, please. The 7th session of IPES met at UNESCO headquarters from April to May 2019, and the first global biodiversity assessment was presented for adoption at this meeting, which presented the overall status of biodiversity in the world and was a wake-up call to the global community, evidencing that biodiversity loss is still accelerating. The release of the assessment is a major step on the way towards the CBD COP15 in China in 2020. The Center participated at the IPES 7, and I had the pleasure to present a joint statement from all biodiversity conventions to this IPES meeting. This global assessment report also clearly demonstrated that the world is failing to reach the objectives as it has set through the Aichi targets in the framework on the Convention of Biological Diversity to slow down the loss of biodiversity. In this context, the parties of CBD are currently negotiating the future global biodiversity framework, which should be adopted at the COP15 in China, in Kunming, in November 2020. This new global agenda to halt biodiversity loss has to bring about transformative change to address the drivers of this loss, including land conversion, overexploitation of natural resources, and climate change, requiring shifts in global financial and economic systems to build a worldwide sustainable economy. From 10 to 12 June, the World Heritage Convention, together with all 7 other biodiversity-related conventions, participated with their bureaus in a consultation workshop in Bern, Switzerland, to discuss the preparation of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. The follow-up to Global Decisions section of our report summarizes some of the work of the Secretariat, which is presented in other key documents of the committee. Therefore, I will not go through it here. However, I would like to highlight 2 points. The organization of an expert meeting on memory sites, requested by the committee at its 42nd session, is subject to the availability of extra budgetary funds, of which limited amounts have been committed by states parties so far. The Secretariat is actively seeking extra budgetary funds in order to finance the organization of the meeting, and you can find further details in the general document on nominations, which is the first time general document 8, which was requested by the committee to the Center to do for the first time last year. The process for UNESCO's strategic transformation is also outlined, as is the role of the World Heritage Committee in this specific process. Now let me turn to the annexes. As mentioned in the beginning, there are 5 annexes to our Secretariat's report, which are important to look at. Annex 1 is the result-based report on the activities undertaken by the World Heritage Center in pursuit of the 5 Cs, covering the period from July 2018 to June 2019, and detailing in greater depth the inspiring activities the Center has been involved with since the last session of the committee. Please note there is an error on page 25 of the English version and page 27 of the French version of Annex 1, and I would like to inform you that the reactive monitoring mission to Iraq, to the Avra of southern Iraq, refuge of biodiversity and the relic landscape of the Mesopotamian cities, has now been postponed until after this committee session. So please take note of this. Annex 2 is the follow-up to all of the decisions you have adopted in Manama in 2018. Annex 3 is the World Heritage Expert and other meetings from January 2019 to December 2019. Annex 4 is the report on the use of the World Heritage Emblem from February 2018 to February 2019. And Annex 5 is an inventory of the World Heritage Partnerships. Dear committee members, the draft decision is on page 19 to 20 of the English version and 21 of the French version of the document. And I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I know I have been a little bit long, but I can assure you it's the only time I speak that long to the committee, just to give justice to the report we have presented. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Rossler, for this detailed presentation on the work accomplished during these years, and I would like to know whether there are any comments from the members of the committee concerning the report of Mrs. Rossler. I see none. Norway? Norway. Please, Norway.
Thank you, Chair, for giving Norway the floor again. On behalf of Norway, I would like to thank you for hosting the 33rd session of the World Heritage Committee, and thank you for the very warm and friendly welcome and for the fantastic opening ceremony yesterday. I would also like to congratulate you on your position as Chair, a role that I'm confident that you will fulfill in an excellent manner. And let me compliment the World Heritage Center on its hard work and great achievements. The many meetings, workshops and projects that the Center takes part in are essential for the implementation of the Convention as a whole. The capacity building and awareness raising activities contribute to sow seeds of knowledge and a sense of ownership to heritage. This will hopefully permit present and future generations to harvest sustainable management and safeguarding of our unique and shared values. During the course of the year, the Center performs an impressively high number of activities. These are in close collaboration with the advisory bodies, the regional field officers, the Category 2 centers and other institutions. The knowledge of these institutions is important. It is also essential that the Center itself holds a high level of expertise. Why? In order to ensure the overall quality of the work, as well as to facilitate synergies, in particularly those that strengthen the comprehensive management of nature and culture. Finally, let me express my great concern for the following fact. During last year's meeting, we, the committee, went against the advisory body's recommendations on several occasions. According to the report in question, we did so in 87% of the nominations. We even managed to write ourselves into history by being the first committee to ever having inscribed nomination recommended for non-inscription on the World Heritage List. As member of the committee, this is something that Norway is not proud of, and this year we hope to do better. I would like to end my intervention by confirming that Norway supports the draft decision. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much for your comment. And now I am giving the floor to Zimbabwe, please.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, we would want to congratulate you for being the chair of this 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee.
Thank you.
Secondly, we would like to thank the Republic of Azerbaijan for hosting this 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee. The State Party of Zimbabwe expresses satisfaction with the activities of the World Heritage Center, in particular those aimed at capacitating the participation of African state parties in ensuring a balanced and a credible World Heritage lists. We encourage the Center to continue with this work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now the floor is going to Tunisia.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. À la suite de la présentation du rapport du Centre du patrimoine mondial, c'est avec plaisir que nous voulons dire notre satisfaction de l'ensemble du travail du Centre qui tient à la fois à sauvegarder l'esprit, la lettre de la Convention, mais aussi les recommandations de chaque session du comité. Alors ce rapport traduit le travail, la diversité, mais aussi la sollicitude que ce centre témoigne à l'endroit de beaucoup de situations et beaucoup d'éléments de notre convention. Je voudrais, au nom de la Tunisie, souligner 2 points qui émergent à nos yeux de ce rapport. Le premier, celui de la réflexion autour de l'évolution du processus d'inscription, et je suis heureux de vous voir souligner l'accueil par la Tunisie, grâce aussi au soutien de l'Australie, de la réunion en janvier dernier sur l'avenir du processus d'inscription, quand on sait quelle est l'importance accordée à cet aspect de la Convention. Le deuxième point qui me paraît émerger et à la fois témoigner de l'importance de l'avenir de cette Convention, c'est ce que Mme Rossler a rappelé à plusieurs reprises tout à l'heure, c'est le dialogue entre les différentes conventions. Il nous incombe de veiller au bon respect de notre Convention, mais également à la cohérence générale de l'arsenal juridique de notre maison, et que donc réfléchir, travailler de concert avec ceux qui veillent à l'application des autres conventions de l'UNESCO me paraît extrêmement important, et c'est pour ça qu'au nom de la Tunisie, non seulement on le souligne, mais on l'apprécie, Madame. Merci beaucoup de votre attention.
Thank you very much for intervention. Tanzania, please.
Thank you, Chair. Tanzania delegation congratulates you, Chair, for being elected to be the chair of this important session. Tanzania thanks Azerbaijan for the warm hospitality that was extended to us. Tanzania delegation congratulates and commends the work of the World Heritage Center for the report that covers various activities that were implemented. The delegation also commends the efforts of the World Heritage Center for the support they set part on the development of national policies, the development of the climate adaptation strategies, the assessment of the impact of climate change for the conservation of World Heritage coral reef, and also the submission of national reports and the focal points on the progress of implementation of the 2011 Historic Urban Landscape recommendations. Furthermore, Tanzania delegation commends the work the World Heritage Center for its excellent organization of the context-specific activities through its regional offices as presented on the 5 performance indicators. In addition, Chair, the Tanzania delegation is satisfied with the progress made by the Center to ensure that the gender equality dimension is consistently integrated in the implementation of all activities carried out within the Center, and the further wishes to encourage the involvement of women in decision-making levels of the Center's activities as part of UNESCO's global priority. Tanzania delegation commends the Center on the achievements made in the construction and the recovery of World Heritage properties that were damaged by conflict or natural disasters worldwide. The Tanzania delegation encourages the Center to continue with the development of web page to expand and understanding on the synergies of the 1972 Convention with the culture and the biodiversity related conventions and the programs. Chair, the Tanzania delegation is convinced that the Center will continue to instill measures that are in the interest of the protection of World Heritage properties worldwide amid the changing societal circumstances. Further, Chair, Tanzania delegation has interest in two areas. One is on the sites associated with memories, and the second is on the thematic study on astronomical heritage. Chair, recalling last year's decision, where it was decided to convene an expert meeting on sites associated with memories of recent conflict to allow for both philosophical and practical reflections on the nature of memorization, the value of involving memories, the interrelationship between material and material attributes in relation to memory. We have heard a report that they have a challenge of financial challenges. We call upon the international community to try and look for those money, because for Africa we think this is an agenda that should be actually pursued. Chair, I support the decision, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next floor is going to Brazil.
Thank you very much. Allow me, first of all, to express our most sincere gratitude to the government of Azerbaijan for the exceptional hospitality extended to all of us. Allow me also to congratulate you, Mr. Chairperson, for the excellent organization of the 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee. We were all very impressed with the magnificent reception offered to us yesterday, reflecting the rich and ancient culture of Azerbaijan. Allow me now to, in the name of the Brazilian delegation, congratulate Madam Rossler for the very clear presentation of the draft report of the World Heritage Center on its activities, which will be submitted to the 40th session of the General Conference. Brazil, as a member of the World Heritage Committee, is engaged in its strategic objectives oriented towards the strengthening of the credibility of the World Heritage List, ensuring effective conservation of the properties, promoting capacity building, including through the activities of Category 2 centers and UNESCO field offices, and also increasing public awareness, involvement, and support for World Heritage through communication. So we commend the decision and activities of the World Heritage Center. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comment and kind appreciation of our work. Now the floor is going to Burkina Faso.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Permettez-moi, au nom de la délégation du Burkina Faso, de vous adresser nos sincères félicitations pour votre élection et remercier la République d'Azerbaïdjan pour son accueil chaleureux et pour les excellentes conditions de travail qui nous sont ouvertes. Je voudrais également remercier et féliciter le Centre du patrimoine mondial pour le rapport qui nous a été soumis et sur ses activités et sur la mise en œuvre des décisions du comité. La délégation du Burkina note avec appréciation les différentes activités réalisées dans les différentes régions du monde, avec une attention particulière portée sur des priorités de l'UNESCO que sont l'Afrique, l'égalité des genres, les jeunes et les petits États insulaires en développement. Nous saluons les efforts du Centre du patrimoine mondial et des centres de catégorie 2, ainsi que tous les partenaires pour le travail réalisé en vue de la mise en œuvre des décisions du comité. Nous voudrions souligner avec insistance l'importance du renforcement des capacités et encourager le Centre du patrimoine mondial à développer davantage d'activités dans ce sens-là. Il en est de même pour la sensibilisation sur l'engagement en faveur du patrimoine mondial. Enfin, nous souhaiterions souligner la nécessité de revoir les modalités, les méthodologies générales sur les rapports afin de mieux faire apparaître les résultats atteints dans les documents. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. The floor is going to Bosnia and Herzegovina.
La délégation de Bosnie-Herzégovine remercie de cette extraordinaire organisation au gouvernement d'Azerbaïdjan et le travail préparatoire fait par l'UNESCO. Et puis, je donne la parole à notre expert pour ajouter quelques mots.
Thank you, Chair. Bosnia and Herzegovina would like to congratulate Center for the preparation of this document with exhaustive list of activities. Especially we congratulate the Center for very good progress in synergistic work with biodiversity-related conventions and EPBES as intergovernmental platform for biodiversity and ecosystem services. We understand that the goals and values of World Heritage Sites are not only of the aesthetic nature, then their essential function is to conserve ecosystem services necessary for human well-being. In this regard, we support that decision, and especially para 4 of this decision. However, we would like to emphasize the need not only to call state parties to engage in the preparation, then also in the implementation of post-2020 global biodiversity framework when it is decided and defined, including through synergistic actions of World Heritage Convention and other biodiversity-related conventions on the national, regional, and global level. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for this comment. Now the floor is going to China.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I wish to use the opportunity to congratulate Azerbaijan for the wonderful hospitality they extended to this committee, and also to all the members, and also for the wonderful organization that the Azerbaijan government has so far extended to us. We also wish to use the opportunity to congratulate you, Minister, for being the chair, and we look forward to a wonderful conference. With regard to Madame Rusler's report, we wish to congratulate you, congratulate the World Heritage Center for doing a wonderful job in the last year. The list of very rich activities demonstrate the extent and the focus of the World Heritage Center. We are delighted to notice that the participation, the active participation of state parties, particularly African nations, in building this report. China is proud to be part of the process, and we shall continue to act as we did, and continue to work with World Heritage Center very closely. I also wish to make a comment that just as Madame Rusler indicated, that since the restructuring of cultural sector last year, we noticed that the World Heritage Center is now much more focused on the main activities of the center, and we believe this is conducive to the development of World Heritage cause. We congratulate the World Heritage Center, and also we use this opportunity to congratulate UNESCO and Madam Director General and ADG. You are all present. We wish to thank you for the part of the strategic transformation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hungary, please. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And since this is the first time a delegation takes the floor, we would also like to congratulate you for your election. And we would also like to thank Azerbaijan for hosting our session. I can tell you that as a Hungarian, I am particularly glad to be here in the friendly country of Azerbaijan. Now, we would also like to thank Madam Director for the comprehensive report on the activities of the World Heritage Center. We particularly appreciate the capacity building and awareness raising activities aimed at helping states parties preserving World Heritage sites in their territories and to help the understanding of the Convention and the operational guidelines. These activities are essential for promoting the core aim of the Convention, which is conservation. This is a very comprehensive report, and we have a very short time, so we will only touch upon a few of the activities, but we could actually go on for hours. So we would like to say that we welcome the World Heritage Journeys in the European Union initiative, which was supported by the EU in collaboration with the National Geographic, and we hope to see these kinds of websites focusing on World Heritage and sustainable travel and tourism be extended not only to other regions, but even within the EU, since it only focuses on 34 sites for now. We also wish to express our appreciation to Norway for having provided funding to the publication on the city of Aleppo. It's a very important report for the strategic planning of recovery and reconstruction, and it's a sad reality that we need to have such publications. We would also like to say, as we do every time we get a chance, that we are very concerned about the human resources situation. Seeing such a rich and comprehensive list of activities undertaken by the Center, it seems almost impossible that all this could be done with such small staff. So we are very grateful to the colleagues working there, because with only 28 established posts under the regular program, the workload they face is enormous. The World Heritage Convention is different from other conventions or programs with listing mechanisms because it foresees and has developed a very efficient, constant monitoring and follow-up system for the sites inscribed on the World Heritage list. The balance of the list also affects the work of the regional units, as the sites to be monitored keep going every year. Hungary is seconding a national expert to the Europe and North America regional unit, but secondment of experts is not a sustainable way forward, and we find it worrying that 28 posts are financed through voluntary contributions or in-kind resources. We would also like to add here that we find it a worrying trend in general, that more and more programs have to be financed through extra budgetary means. We need to find a sustainable solution to the budgetary constraints that the fund is facing. Well, we want to close our intervention then by expressing our appreciation to the Center and to underline how much we appreciate working together with them in a constant spirit of dialogue, and we stand ready to continue to support their work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hungary, now the floor is going to St. Kitts and Nevis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me first of all open by congratulating you, distinguished Minister, for hosting this event this year, and also for the spectacular opening ceremony last night, showcasing the diversity of cultural heritage legacy that your country brings to the world stage. I'd like to thank the Director of the World Heritage Center, Mrs. Rossler, for a very comprehensive report on the World Heritage Center activities and the implementation of the World Heritage Committee's decisions. But I'd also like to commend her, and indeed her staff, for the implementation of the World Heritage Program. We don't thank them enough for the work they do under sometimes very restrictive conditions of budget and so on, and also to thank her for the particular specific assistance she's provided to small island developing states like St. Kitts and Nevis. Let me, Mr. Chairman, seize this opportunity to say that having taken note of the fact that we have now reached 1,092 sites on the World Heritage List, it is worth pointing out that slightly less or a little bit more than 2% of the sites are located in small island developing states. I think this speaks volumes about recognizing the inherently limited nature of institutional capacity that is faced by the majority of SIDS countries, which act as an impediment in terms of identifying, inventorying, and proposing potential heritage sites. And it also, I think, speaks volumes about the need going forward to recognize the small island developing states as a specific area of continuing technical assistance and funding to help us identify, inventory, and evaluate and conserve some of our unique cultural heritage associated both at regional and sub-regional level. It also needs to take into account the emerging issues, notably in relation to identifying and preserving heritage tourism and its implications and potential going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much for these kind words, and now the floor is going to Uganda.
Mr. Chairman, since it is Uganda's first time to take the floor, we wish to congratulate and thank the Republic of Azerbaijan for hosting the 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee here in Baku. We particularly appreciate the warmth and hospitality extended to us since arrival in our capital. Your Excellency, Uganda further thanks UNESCO in general and the World Heritage Center in particular for the continued efforts in saving the surviving cultural and natural heritage on the globe. Your Excellency, Mr. Chairperson, and distinguished delegations from across the globe, it is no more in doubt that humankind is greatly supported by this heritage. However, mankind's deliberate or unintentional actions of encroachment, development intrusions, agriculture expansion, mineral exploitation, crime, civil unrest, all these have immense impacts and pressure on heritage sustainability. Combined with the rapidly growing population, estimated at over 230,000 babies in a day, this pressure has continued to increase and is further exacerbated by the concurrence of natural disasters. All these together rapidly degrading and affecting the outstanding universal values of these important treasures. We have a responsibility, Mr. Chairperson, to safely deliver well-protected heritage for posterity. And this cannot be within the role of individual member countries. Rather, we need to build strong partnerships. We need to promote meaningfully coordinated efforts to build the capacity of the youth, to build the capacity of communities, and to build more experts to facilitate a smooth handover of these treasures over to the next generations. We further need to improve information sharing and employ the right technologies that will promote sustainable management of the world's heritage. We, in Uganda, conservation is not a matter of choice. It is a matter of survival in our case. It is enshrined in our constitution, it is in our culture, it is also in our religion. The work of this committee, therefore, is very important to humanity. We, the state parties, the UNESCO Convention, and all other states that hold and use this world heritage have obligation to engage and act responsibly, save what we hold to our hands. Mr. Chairperson, distinguished colleagues, the delegation of Uganda supports the draft decision on item 5A and wishes this session successful deliberations. And we thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now the floor is going to Azerbaijan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would like to thank the Secretariat for its report. The 5 performance indicators are indeed a powerful and important tool to enable state parties and the committee members to assess the activities of the Secretariat in different areas. But my delegation has certain observations with regard to several activities done by the Secretariat. The first is the capacity building. Azerbaijan is always advocating for increasing the capacity building activities of the Secretariat. We commend the activities Secretariat in this regard, but still we believe there is a room for improvement in delivering the capacity building first to the least developed countries, namely in Africa, and also to assist the countries in the conservation and the awareness raising. There are just few examples of lack of expertise or lack of resources in Africa in submission of the nominations. For example, this year we have only 1 nomination from Africa, or the 80% of the natural heritage in Africa is under the endangered list. So these are alarming indicators that we need to redouble our efforts and to invest more in Africa for capacity building. And in this regard, we believe that this Site Managers Forum is a powerful tool to attract attention to the challenges facing the site managers, and also to increase the capacity building. And we are very happy that Azerbaijan, for the 3rd time, is hosting the Site Managers Forums in Baku, and the special focus is given to the site managers from Africa. The second very important point, we believe, is the synergies. We always talking about the synergies being in this committee for 4 years, and we still observe that there are some issues that needs more coordination between the conventions secretariat and the activities that the conventions are doing within the mandate. As we see that the main threats to the heritage are caused by the conflict, we believe that the main, I would say, the activities, the coordination should be established in a more comprehensive and a more close way with the cultural conventions dealing with the conflicts, and the Hague Convention and 1970 Convention. But at the same time, of course, we do understand that there are the problems caused by the climate change and the natural disasters, and the biodiversity conventions are indeed also very crucial in terms of the strengthening the protection of the heritage. All these issues are discussed with the committee members, and we reflected them in the Baku Declaration, which will be adopted after this item. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now the floor is going to Guatemala.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Al ser nuestra primera intervención, queremos agradecer a la República de Azerbaiyán por esta fantástica organización y valioso apoyo para el desempeño del Comité de Patrimonio Mundial. Valoramos el detallado y completo informe del Centro de Patrimonio Mundial, el cual muestra la complicada labor necesaria para la conservación del patrimonio cultural y material, lo cual únicamente será posible a través de redes, alianzas, cooperaciones y colaboraciones simultáneas, con una adecuada orientación y objetivos claros. Aprovecho para informar que de manera similar, Guatemala ha continuado trabajando para la implementación de la Convención en México, Centroamérica y el Caribe, en conjunto con el Centro Categoría 2 en Zacatecas, México. Coincidimos con lo dicho por otros miembros de este comité en cuanto a la necesidad de continuar trabajando para el fortalecimiento de capacidades, tanto en los procesos de nominación, pero especialmente en lo relativo a la gestión sostenible de los sitios inscritos en la lista. Hacemos votos para avanzar en la estrategia global para contar con una lista más equilibrada, creíble y representativa. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Spain, you are welcome.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Queremos sumarnos también a los agradecimientos a la República de Azerbaiyán por la hospitalidad que nos ha manifestado desde el primer momento y por la magnífica organización de este evento. Y agradecer, por supuesto, al Centro de Patrimonio, con su directora a la cabeza, por el trabajo que realizan, siendo todos conscientes de que es un trabajo cada vez con recursos más escasos y con un personal muy limitado, que debería llevarnos a tomar conciencia de que muchas veces ese trabajo se ve incrementado por las decisiones que en el comité tomamos y que nos debería hacer reflexionar que las decisiones deben siempre, dentro de nuestra libertad de acción, respetar al máximo los criterios y los informes técnicos en los que se basan las resoluciones de inscripción. Valoramos especialmente que se tenga en cuenta la prioridad África, siendo bien conscientes de la asimetría que se establece cuando queremos plantear a cualquier Estado las obligaciones que suponen cumplir los criterios de patrimonio, las obligaciones de conservación y protección de ese patrimonio, que tienen que ser combinadas con las aspiraciones al desarrollo pleno de esos pueblos y de esos Estados. No es lo mismo en el mundo desarrollado que en el mundo que está haciendo tremendos esfuerzos con la desigualdad que nos asiste para estar en desarrollo. Valoramos muy especialmente que los ODS estén presentes en las resoluciones, con especial incidencia en la igualdad de género. Creemos que poner en común el patrimonio es poner en común la idea universal de convivencia en un mundo en el que por el momento es el único conocido y que no tenemos más remedio que habitar compartiéndolo de manera más humana y solidaria posible. Quiero dejar patente que España, dentro del comité o fuera de él, colaborará siempre con el Centro de Patrimonio, con UNESCO y con los Estados que de manera solidaria se comprometen en la defensa y protección del patrimonio, como decimos, como una seña de convivencia entre toda la humanidad. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much for your comment. Now the floor is going to Australia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Australian delegation, we're delighted to be here in Baku and thankful for the hospitality of the Azerbaijani people, and we're quite taken with the diversity and cultural heritage of this city. We wish you every success in chairing this meeting. Madam Rostel's report outlines the enormous scope of work undertaken by the Centre, focused on the protection of our world heritage in partnership with states parties, the advisory bodies and many other actors. There's a great deal being done with very limited resources, and we shouldn't lose sight of this fact, as several delegations have already underlined. The demands for action-based support for the conservation and protection of World Heritage properties grow ever larger, as is evidenced by the fact we have 160 properties being examined because of concerns for their state of conservation on our agenda this year. We need to invest in capacity building, focused particularly on how to protect and manage sites at all levels, in lawmaking, in governance, in community participation, in recognition of Indigenous people's rights, in conservation practices, in resilience management. The list is extensive and the need is deep. So when and how will the World Heritage community find the ways and means to invest in conservation substantially and as is required of us under the Convention? We need to find answers to this question, and we need to continue that dialogue during the course of this meeting. Likewise, we need to work vigilantly to improve the processes of the committee in session and out of session to ensure we uphold the integrity and credibility of the Convention, and we have that opportunity here in Baku with the agenda items we have around, for example, the reform of the nomination process and also in looking at the reactive monitoring review. At this meeting, we have the opportunity to seize the day and make reforming decisions that leave a lasting positive legacy for the Convention, and I encourage a constructive dialogue towards that end, and am very hopeful that by the time we reach day 10 here in Baku, we will look back with a great deal of satisfaction at our collective achievements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now the floor is going to Bahrain.
Thank you very much. I would first like to express our congratulations from Bahrain to the state of Azerbaijan to host this meeting, the 43rd meeting, and Bahrain was honored last year to host the 42nd meeting, and we also like to thank the World Heritage Center and UNESCO for supporting us through the preparation and implementation and the management of that event. I would like also, on behalf of Bahrain, to congratulate His Excellency Mr. Gargaev on being elected as the chairman for this session. For us in Bahrain, we are continuously working through the Ministry of, or the Bureau of, the Authority of Culture, Baku, and also the Category 2 Center in Bahrain for the Arab region. We work very closely with the World Heritage Center, and we would like to congratulate the center and the director, Dr. Russler, for the wonderful work that they have carried out last year, and their continued support also for the state parties. We are quite happy and congratulate you all with the advisory bodies for preparing and managing the reflection meeting in January in Tunis for reviewing and possible revision of certain parts of the nomination process. And we believe that this, with your efforts, continued efforts for capacity building and public awareness of the value of cultural heritage and natural heritage, we believe that this will help bridge the gap between various state parties, especially in regions that are underrepresented on the World Heritage List. I thank you all. I would like again to thank the state of Azerbaijan for generous hospitality and their wonderful management and running of this committee meeting, and also our appreciation and how impressed we were with the wonderful evening we had last night. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much for these kind words. Now, soon there are no committee members, so Korea, Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to express my deep appreciation to the World Heritage Center for its efforts to implement the committee's decisions. We are all aware that each World Heritage site may have differing and even conflicting meanings for different communities and peoples. Therefore, the Republic of Korea has been strongly committed to fostering interpretation strategies that would allow for an understanding of the full history of each site. In this vein, I'd like to recall two recent decisions by the committee regarding the sites of Japan's Meiji Industrial Revolution. These sites were inscribed under the condition that the government of Japan prepare interpretive strategy to allow an understanding of full history of each site. Subsequent to this decision, the representative of the Japanese government stated that Japan was prepared to incorporate appropriate measures into the interpretive strategy to remember the victims, such as the establishment of information center. Since there has been no progress made thereafter, the committee in Manama last year reiterated the key points of the previous decision by requesting its full implementation of the government of Japan. The committee also encouraged continued dialogue between the concerned parties. Considering an updated status of conservation report of this property is due 1st December this year. However, I regret to notice no visible sign of implementation or willingness for the dialogue. The government of the Republic of Korea therefore urges the government of Japan to faithfully implement these decisions and uphold its promises made before the international community through bilateral talks with Korea. Finally, I'd like to bring the attention of the committee members to this very important issue, which is closely linked to the authority and the credibility of the committee, and therefore request their due diligence and appropriate follow-up measures. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, I will let to give France also. France, you're welcome. I don't see you.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Cette intervention brève est destinée d'abord à remercier l'Azerbaïdjan d'avoir organisé cette réunion du Comité du patrimoine mondial dans d'excellentes conditions. La cérémonie d'ouverture d'hier soir était particulièrement exceptionnelle. Rappelez que nous aurons avec vous, l'Azerbaïdjan, 2 événements. Un demain soir au musée du tapis avec les collections du musée du Louvre qui seront exposées à cette occasion. Et le deuxième, le 4 au soir, au musée d'archéologie nationale pour montrer l'état des travaux, en quelque sorte, menés en commun par l'Azerbaïdjan et la France sur un certain nombre de sites. Nous soutenons évidemment au quotidien le travail du Centre du patrimoine mondial qui nous paraît d'excellente qualité et nous remercions toute l'équipe. Je veux simplement dire que nous sommes prêts à contribuer à ce que dans les mois qui viennent, cette réflexion d'experts sur les sites de mémoire, nous en avons 2 qui sont actuellement en quelque sorte différés tant qu'ils ne seront pas examinés en 2021, nous sommes tout à fait prêts à ce que cette action entreprise par le Centre du patrimoine mondial soit menée à bien dans l'hiver 2019-2020 et nous sommes prêts à y contribuer financièrement. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, France, for this information. So now the floor is going to the representative of Europe Nostra organizations, NGO, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On behalf of Europa Nostra, the largest European federation of NGOs active in the field of cultural heritage, let me first congratulate the chair of its committee on its election, and wish him every success in his work. Secondly, we wish to congratulate the World Heritage Center, its director, Dr. Rössler, and its staff on all what has been achieved since the last meeting of this committee, and this in spite of the very limited resources compared with an ever-growing list of tasks. Let me convey our special praise for the Centre's dedication to maintaining an ongoing dialogue with civil society and to involving them and their input in the various activities undertaken by the Centre. When an organization has limited resources, it is a necessity to develop partnerships, and this is what the World Heritage Center has been doing with great success. We wish especially to praise the partnership with the European Union, which was further developed in the framework of the European Year of Cultural Heritage, celebrated in 2018. And this year was a historic year for Europe and has resulted in a stronger engagement of the European Union for the safeguard of cultural heritage and a stronger recognition of its value for a more sustainable and more inclusive Europe. 10 days ago, the EU leaders approved the strategic orientations for the next 5 years, and we are delighted to share with you the excellent news that for the very first time, this strategic agenda includes a commitment for investing in culture and cultural heritage. We believe that this should open further opportunities for building synergies between the work of the World Heritage Center and the European Commission, not only with regard to World Heritage sites located in Europe, but also elsewhere in the world. And Europa Nostra, which cooperates closely both with the EU and UNESCO, stands ready to contribute to developing this vital synergy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. ISESCO organization, please, you're welcome.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais tout d'abord vous remercier pour l'invitation que vous avez adressée à l'ICESCO pour participer à cette 43e session du comité. Mes remerciements vont également à Madame la Directrice Générale de l'UNESCO. L'ICESCO est fier de pouvoir participer à cette réunion et à écouter les doléances de nos États membres communs relatives justement à la formation des cadres qui s'occupent de la gestion des sites du patrimoine. J'ai eu l'occasion hier de me réunir avec la directrice adjointe du Centre du patrimoine mondial pour justement essayer de trouver comment est-ce qu'on pourrait coopérer, l'ICESCO et le Centre du patrimoine, pour renforcer davantage les capacités des cadres des États membres de l'ICESCO et de l'UNESCO dans ce domaine-là. Donc, je voudrais, s'il vous plaît, essayer de vous montrer que l'ICESCO essaye, par cette participation, de renforcer davantage la coopération déjà existante entre l'ICESCO et l'UNESCO, mais je voudrais quand même que cette coopération puisse s'élargir aussi entre le Comité du patrimoine mondial et le Comité du patrimoine du monde islamique. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Now, I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Rossler for some comments, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I would like to thank all the delegations for their congratulations for the work of the World Heritage Center. I turn this to my team because I'm supported by a fantastic team here, so I give the thanks to them. And I'm very grateful for the kind words you said about our program. I have also noted some of the areas of concern, which concerns the SITS. I participated myself in the SITS meeting with the science sector just last week, and also some other areas of capacity building and improving the situation to produce more nominations from the African region. So this is well taken note of. And concerning the meeting on the sites of memory, we have made an effort to get some funding. I confirm what France just stated. We have received 5,000 euros from France. I have also received an announcement of $10,000 from the Republic of Korea, but we still need funding for a meeting which needs to be balanced in terms of regions and expertise together with the different advisory bodies. So we hope that we can manage to have this meeting by December 2019. And with this, Mr. Chair, you may turn to our Assistant Director General, who would like to also say something about the budget. Thank you.
First, if you don't mind, I will give the floor to Representative of Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will be very brief. I would like to thank the World Heritage Center for their great effort, and also I'd like to congratulate you for being chair for this convention, and thanks for the State of or the Republic of Azerbaijan for the great host. I would like to also to announce, as we discussed with the World Heritage Center, is Kuwait will also donate 10,000 euro for their program. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this support. Now I would like to give the floor to the Director General, Mr. Ernesto Ottone, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Je voudrais faire deux commentaires par rapport à tout ce que nous avons entendu de tous les États qui sont ici présents. D'abord, rappeler qu'à ces réunions participent non seulement le Centre du patrimoine mondial, mais on a aussi d'autres entités de l'UNESCO. Il y a Legal Affairs, il y a l'équipe de production, il y a bien sûr KMI, DPI. Donc je voudrais bien qu'on commence aussi à comprendre que c'est tout l'UNESCO qui est derrière le Centre du patrimoine mondial. Et dans ce sens, il est important de vous écouter parler qu'il faut renforcer les équipes humaines, le financier pour le capacity building, priorité Afrique, SITS et généralement. Donc je voudrais aussi faire le point lorsqu'on aura la discussion pendant le prochain Conseil exécutif, face au financement, qu'effectivement le seul moyen d'assurer dans le temps une manière permanente de pouvoir travailler avec les bureaux au siège et pouvoir faire tout ce développement, c'est lorsqu'on aura la discussion, vous allez avoir la discussion du budget intégré. Il serait bien que pour le budget régulier, il y ait cette réflexion, puisque vous avez raison, on a besoin de plus de moyens pour avoir les ressources humaines et financières pour pouvoir développer la grande partie du programme que vous demandez avancer avec le patrimoine mondial. Voilà. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much. Now, as far as I know, as I see, there is no other comments and interventions. So I invite you to adopt the draft decision 43.5a, which is contained in document 5a. I would like, before that, to ask the rapporteur about whether there are any comments and amendments came to the...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have no amendments to this draft decision.
Thank you very much. So if there is no any decisions, I declare the draft decision 43.5a adopted. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, as we had preliminary consultations with the committee members, we would like to draw your attention to another question which is not in the agenda. Our heritage is facing ever-increasing threats, including the direct and indirect impact of conflicts or natural disasters. This underlines more than ever the urgent necessity to join forces towards the preservation and safeguarding of our common heritage. That's why I took, as a chairperson of the 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee, the initiative to present to you with a declaration to be adopted by the World Heritage Committee as a message to the international community, testifying of our common endeavor in protecting our heritage for the generations to come. I have proposed to name this declaration the Baku Declaration. The text had been shared with all the committee members, and according to their opinion, the last draft was presented to us just recently. So I will give you brief information about that, and if you don't mind, I hope that we can adopt this presentation by just proceed to the applause and no voting and something on. The text is on the screen, and it is noting the importance of the attention to the matters of the heritage protection. It is connected with the difficulties and challenges of the modern world, encourage the work of the existing experience, and ask the governmental bodies to pay more attention to the matters of protection and conservation, and to bring this heritage safe to the future generation. If there is no objections from the committee members, can we accept this declaration by applause? Thank you. Now, we are coming to the presentation. Dear colleagues, I then think that we have another very important matter, message from the World Heritage Young Professionals. You know that we had a meeting of young professionals started with 23rd of June this month in Baku as an integral part of the session of the committee and in the framework of the UNESCO's World Heritage Education Program, under the theme Local Insights for Global Challenges. As you know, it is customary that the young professionals present a message prepared during the forum and of which the committee will take note. Allow me on this regard to give the floor first to Mr. Ernesto Ottone, the Assistant Director General for Culture. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mesdames et Messieurs, le 23 juin 2019 a effectivement commencé le Forum des jeunes professionnels du patrimoine mondial à Bakou. Cette année, le Forum a réuni 30 participants de 30 pays représentant toutes les régions. Ces jeunes de différentes origines sont venus avec la même conviction qui est de façonner un avenir meilleur pour notre patrimoine. Au cours des 8 derniers jours, ils ont exploré différents sujets liés au thème perspectives locales pour des défis mondiaux. Ils ont visité des sites du patrimoine mondial, participé à des ateliers et à des activités pratiques et approfondi divers concepts, notamment le nouveau programme pour les villes et les objectifs de développement durable. Les résultats du travail et les recommandations des jeunes professionnels ont été formulés dans un document final qu'ils ont rédigé tous ensemble sous la forme d'un message. Avant de donner la parole aux jeunes professionnels qui vont communiquer leur message démontrant leur engagement en faveur de la protection et la conservation du patrimoine mondial, je vous invite à regarder la vidéo qui montre l'expérience enrichissante vécue par ces jeunes durant ces 8 derniers jours. Merci pour le loop.
Second time, without...
J'invite les jeunes professionnels à présenter leur message. Merci.
We, the participants of the UNESCO World Heritage Young Professionals Forum 2019, World Heritage Local Insights for Global Challenges, would like to extend our sincere thanks to Minister of Culture of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Mr. Abulfaz Karayev, Chairperson of the 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee, and the UNESCO World Heritage Center. Furthermore, we are grateful to the Ministry of Culture for organizing and financing the forum. Our heartfelt thanks go to the executive and volunteer teams for their support and the groups of experts for their enriching insights and mentorship. We have examined 3 aspects of heritage in Azerbaijan, including urban context in Baku, cultural landscapes in Gobustan, and intangible heritage, through local insights for addressing global challenges. Building on the declarations of the previous youth fora, this examination has led us to express the following. We, as young people, see the attraction of urban life as a magnet for innovation, creativity, and new ways of living. However, ongoing uncontrolled development in urban centers worldwide is completely unacceptable, leading to the erosion of distinct character and identity of place. Sustainable development and the improvement of cities' socioeconomic vitality and livability is needed for robust place-based integrated strategies to help reinforce rural-urban linkages. By involving local stakeholders through a participatory and multi-stakeholder partnership approach, we can achieve the UN SDGs and the new urban agenda, and we realize Paris Agreement on climate change. We recognize the importance of defining place-sensitive indicators to monitor the effective implementation of the SDGs and their effects over time. By only focusing on the total expenditure of the preservation, protection, and conservation of heritage, social, cultural, economic values are not fully captured. This risks irreplaceable harm to heritage assets and its transmission to future generations. New indicators should be established to better monitor and evaluate the qualitative needs of the future. We require urgent action, as failing to do so would be irresponsible. The multi-layered concept of the cultural landscape, in which the local communities play a central role in the human-society-nature interaction, is frequently reduced to the aesthetic aspects of the landscape, thereby diminishing the inherent diversity. Inclusive strategies that incorporate community-centered management are needed, that span beyond the realm of tangible and intangible heritage to incorporate all aspects of life.
We call upon all stakeholders to ensure the engagement of locals, especially minorities and youth, so they can contribute with their knowledge and experience. We stress the importance of a thoughtful and efficient management system that looks out for the interests of the community and its well-being and fosters education in order to secure long-term conservation. Intangible heritage is fundamental to preserving diversity and local identity in both urban and rural landscape contexts. The threat to social and cultural diversity due to migrations, urbanization and globalization is deeply concerning, and we urge all local stakeholders to establish both local and global connections for the exchange of knowledge and foster intercultural dialogue. Digital technologies have an increasing role as a tool to interpret and disseminate multiple values of heritage. The younger generations should not be ignored, but included in the utilization of these technologies, as they are at the forefront of this advancement. We sadly witness how economic and political interests get in the way of pursuing sustainable protection of both people and the environment. World Heritage is more than just a beautiful postcard picture, and the status should not be used solely as a tourism promotion label, but as a tool for its protection and enhancement. We, young professionals from all over the world, commit ourselves to pursue UNESCO's mandate of building peace in the minds of humankind in our practice of heritage management. Our recommendations are built upon the belief in the unifying power of heritage, in freedom of expression, and the force of cultural and natural diversity in attaining sustainable development. In this time of rising political tensions and polarization, we emphasize the need for respectful dialogue based on mutual understanding. The challenges we have highlighted require action today and not be left for future generations to resolve. Let's work together to respond to the global challenges of our time before it is too late. We would like to thank you for your attention by performing an Indigenous Australian dance to support the International Year of Indigenous Languages.
Au nom de l'UNESCO, je vous remercie. Je vous remercie en tant que jeune décideur de demain pour votre participation et pour votre excellent travail durant ce forum. Travail autant de parler que danser. Et je vous souhaite le meilleur pour votre future carrière en tant que partenaire du patrimoine. Maintenant, j'invite Madame la Directrice Générale et mes collègues à rejoindre le jeune pour la photo du groupe, si vous le permettez. Merci.
Honorable delegates, members of the committee, I would like to thank all of you for the evaluation of the work done by the Azerbaijani government during the preparation time and for the hospitality. It will be our pleasure to make the convenience and the conditions where you will feel so comfortable until the end of the conference, until the end of the committee, and to leave our city with the perfect reflections. I would like to thank all of you for such evaluation and such a friendly attitude to the host country. At the same time, it will not be possible without your personal involvement, your participation in all the preparation period of time, along with the World Heritage Center and those who prepared this very important international event. Now, before I would like to tell that we are going well according to the schedule. If we will proceed like that, I hope we will succeed at the end of the day. And before announcing the break until 3 o'clock, we have some other events, press conferences, some meetings. At 3 o'clock, we'll resume our meeting, but now I'm giving the floor to Mrs. Rossler.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and you are going well with the schedule. You have on the screens the side events. As I said this morning, we have 50 side events during the committee session. They are here on the screens and outside on the screens. And in addition, I have to announce that the meeting of the Arab group will take place at 2 o'clock in room 5, B5, the Arab group. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Now we have time to realize what's going on. Thank you, and I would like to, on behalf of all of us, to thank Director General for her personal participation at the meeting, at the committee meeting, and express our not only gratitude but our wish for the successful work of UNESCO on this position in future years. Thank you very much.